going to be looking through the prism of my 30 years plus involved in elections in Africa, in Eastern Europe, and in Afghanistan. So I'm going to put it through a prism. There is no such thing as a perfect election, not even in my country, Canada. All elections are flawed. It's to the degree that the flaw exists. There is a point where it's beyond that it lacks legitimacy. Congo is, as I said, a very large country. Its infrastructure in the interior is very, very weak, making it very challenging. I will say, and I will go on record, the late Chancellor Zita, with small assistance by myself, prepared an election plan, a document of 100 pages, and we costed out the 2018 elections at approximately just under $700 million. And of course, when it was presented to the cabinet, the fury that emanated was just raw and feral, and went right to the Congo National, Stephen Zita, who never quite recovered, because they recognized that was a powerful, powerful document, and they refused to accept it. Because elections can be done, and as I've said, you need to start early, and you need to involve a lot of people, and you train, and you cascade. And it all needs to be clear, open, and transparent. And what is absolutely critical, the leadership of the Senate cannot be in any manner, direct or indirect, entailed within the governance structure. It needs to be professional, ethical, and absolutely neutral. Service to the citizen voter. No more, no less. All the government can do is look at the budget, provide them with the resources, and it's all subject to what I term forensic accounting, which sadly has not been done this time, because there is friction. I mean, there's what I call reasonable friction, because human nature being human nature, and there are extraordinary circumstances, but there's just too much money that's not accounted for. Whether it's with the voting machines that fail, that voting booths don't open up, and that can be configured into the system. And you do that, and there are just different ways. You pay them what I call a decent amount of money, and it's all relative, instead of paying external sources. And you have them on the spot well in advance, and they need to be local. And that is cardinal, local, from the village, known by the chief, and you involve the local leaders. They need to be right involved from the get-go. You need to empower them. When they're empowered, they feel strong. And then they are more motivated to help you, what I call the EMB, the electoral management body. And they have an idea who is eligible to vote or not, and that would make voting registration a lot more efficient and effective and reduce the cost. That was not done, and that is creating problems. You don't even know who is voting or eligible to vote, and as you ably or aptly pointed out, in the East, it's very difficult to see who voted. And I'm going to be looking at the numbers in terms of voter turnout, and there's what I call the test of what is reasonable. And if it does not meet the test of what is reasonable, I'm going to be viewing those results with a great deal of lack of certitude. And I mean, the presidency, they are in there. They're watching the results right now. That I can say, and that will go on record. They know exactly what's coming in. And if there's going to be any tweaking, it's going to be done at the central headquarters. And to mitigate that, the result should be public at the end of the count at each polling station, and then each party, and many of the candidates do have local people, attested by neutral people and by the chiefs, and that is how I would have designed the system to make it value neutral. But then again, that only means that the result is going to be credible, but that may impede the election of the incumbent president. And of course, what is the role of any elector? Once you are elected, you want to calibrate to be re-elected. It's everywhere. It's universal. It's a norm of what I call a public civics. And so I'm sanguine right now. And as I look at the Starship, the Enterprise, I mean, that is one clean, good-looking room. I mean, but the point is, it's as good as the results that come into it. To me, that almost looks like a facade. And there you have the international election observers all sitting in there. If they're going to be, they need to be on the ground. But they cannot, A, get out there for one reason or another, which begs the question, why are they there? in USA, and I say this to USA, instead of empowering international election tourists, empower national civil society organizations, young lawyers, young teachers, young nurses, young journalists, empower them, allow them the instruments so they can get out, people like you, so you can go out in the field with your information and to provide the truth hands-on, respecting the protocols. That's where international money should be dedicated.
Mm-hmm. Great. So before I finish, the party of President Kabila, they said in the statement that if this election they tricked the election, that the election was stolen from people who vote, they will mix the country. That means they'll bring trouble in the country. Do you see this election ending with civil war, or maybe a new rebellion group just created, advancing to Kinshasa, or to remove Felix Tshisekedi? Do you see it happen?
I hope not. I hope not. I pray not. I plead not. I mean, that is always, in a sense, when elections lack legitimacy, the person who did not win will say election fraud. You want to base the information on fact-based evidence, and you don't want to become emotional, which is why you want to have an EMB crafted and structured, professional, ethical, independent, to mitigate or to reduce what I call blowback, because the consequences are going to be far more than the actual cause. And I don't know. And I don't think anyone wants to have Congo retreating back into a state of chaos and anarchy. And there will be people that may try to inspire that. But I am pleading, and I will use your instrument to plead for what I call civility. Go through the process, respect the process, and hold power to account. And I will say this to the power: understand what I call your fiduciary role, that as a fiduciary, you are a servant and agent of the citizen. It's not your money, it's public monies. And it's not for you to enjoy a good life. It's to assist your brother and your sister who lives with you in the country. Congo is potentially a state unique in Africa. It could be what I call the internal governor holding Africa together because of geography, because of resources, because of now population. Congo can export to the West culture, can export, when trained, a military to serve under the aegis of the United Nations, well trained, and as many other African countries have tried to do, but they need to put money into your people, the military. And then, of course, there's always what I call potential blowback. When you have the military well trained, they may turn on the government, hence the coups in the Sahel area. But there are other aspects. It's not quite a blueprint. And I always say, you respect and trust the people will trust and respect you. They can see. There's what I call the internal eye, and eventually the truth does come out. So I am hoping that the results, what they may be, will be respected, and if there is a disagreement, you go through the process. And I'm hoping that the incumbent president will understand this as well, and will make every overture saying to open the books and saying, if I'm going to win, I want to win legitimately. And I want to make sure that my win is legitimate. And that will be in the interest of the nation-state Democratic Republic of Congo, as with other nation-states. So Congo, by rights, should be a beacon.